My name is Amelie Meyer. I would like to tell you a story about vanishing sea ice in Antarctica. This is a view of Antarctica and the South Pole that we're not used to, looking at it from above. You might be able to recognize South America on the right, Africa at the bottom, and Australia on the left. What you see in the middle is the actual Antarctic continent. The stronger white is the land, while the band of paler white is the sea ice that surrounds Antarctica in winter. This image is a composite of pictures taken from space with satellites in September 2005. The area of sea ice that forms every year around Antarctica and is maximum in late September is the equivalent to more than twice the size of Australia. Other white features that you see are clouds in the atmosphere. Satellite data are the only way to really have an idea what sea ice is doing. Sea ice grows only in the harshest conditions. You can't have a weather station on sea ice, at least not for very long. So satellite observations have really given us a clear picture of how far sea ice extends. What is sea ice? Sea ice is frozen seawater. Because ice is less dense than water, it floats on the surface of the ocean and covers about 12% of the world's ocean at any one point in time. Sea ice is also beautiful. It takes many shapes, as you can see on this photo. In the middle here, you have some broken pieces of ice. The brighter regions show either ice that is more compact or snow that has fallen on top of it. The darker spots, nearly black, are actually the ocean that you can see in between patches of ice. Sea ice is very different from ice shelves, which are formed by glaciers and flowed into the sea. Ice shelves are up to a kilometer thickness. Instead, sea ice is usually less than a few meters thick, about our height. Sea ice plays an important role in the overall Antarctic and Earth system. Locally, it serves as a safe place for both small critters like algae, seeds, krill, and fish, and for larger animals like penguins and seals. You can see on the picture some colorful sea ice that's actually turned golden in color from all the life it's harboring. On the other photo, you see a bunch of penguins that are taking refuge on the ice, while a leopard seal is hunting. When sea ice freezes, it also freezes nutrient within it. Nutrients are like food for plants. When the sea ice starts melting, this food is released in the water and kickstarts the bloom of plants in the ocean underneath. At larger scales, sea ice reflects light, controlling how much heat from the sun is absorbed by the Earth. More sea ice means there's less heat absorbed by the planet, while less sea ice means more heat absorbed. Sea ice is also key in the formation of deep, dense Antarctic waters, which are similar to huge underwater waterfalls. These waterfalls can only exist because of the sea ice that freezes in winter and release dense salt. The freezing and salt make the local water cold and dense enough that it can sink, forming underwater rivers that dive deep, driving the great ocean conveyor belt. So what is happening to sea ice? This movie shows Antarctica and sea ice from August 2016 until March 17. What you see is the sea ice around Antarctica initially growing as winter advances. It spins slightly clockwise as it is being pushed by the wind and ocean currents that go in that direction around Antarctica. Then, from October 2016, the sea ice starts melting slowly, more and more disappearing around the whole continent. And by January 2017, there is hardly any ice left. Isn't that an amazing transformation? In fact, it turns out that late 2016 was quite an unusual year for Antarctic sea ice. This graph shows the Antarctic sea ice extends since satellite records started in 1979 until just a few months ago. That's about 40 years of observations. The numbers at the bottom show the time in years, running from roughly 1980 all the way till present. The numbers on the left show how much more or less sea ice there is that year compared to usual. So if you're at 0 in the middle, it's as much sea ice as usual. If you're below 0, it's less ice than usual. And if you're above 0, it's more than usual. You see that the observations, which is the black wiggly line, vary a lot. But if you fit a straight line through them, from the 1980s to 2016, like the blue lines, you'll find that sea ice extent in Antarctica was slowly increasing. So the sea ice wasn't really disappearing, it was growing. However, in 2016, the Antarctic sea ice extent dramatically declined and reached its lowest ever extent in 2017. This is in the region where we have a red line from 2016 until present. This decline in sea ice really surprised the research community. Looking into all the factors that influence sea ice and sea ice extent, we now think that it was first a change in the atmosphere that drove some strange winds over the sea ice. The wind was moving the sea ice around in an unusual pattern, pushing the ice in area where it melted. The wind also changed the ocean circulation, drawing up warm waters from way below the surface up to the sea ice, melting it from underneath. This ocean response triggered by the atmosphere lasted many months, giving no chance to the ice. The Antarctic sea ice has not yet recovered. This beautiful image shows a region of the ocean around Antarctica, between Africa and Antarctica. The color is the temperature of the ocean surface. Dark blues show cold water at about minus 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is close to freezing. And then moving up to green waters, 12 degrees, turquoise waters around 7. As you move north, the water turns yellow, which is about 17 degrees, and then red, which is roughly 22 degrees, as you get closer to the tropics. What you might notice is the beautiful patterns that current in the ocean draw as they flow and meander, carrying waters with different temperatures around. The white spots are places where we don't have data, usually due to the clouds. So vanishing sea ice in Antarctica is a mystery that we're still trying to resolve. We know that part of the story is the wind, and part of the story is the ocean.